this album to me is the first representation of, okay, we're back. You know, aren't we ever going to be more than friends? And Rude, Crude, and Uncouth was like, okay, I'm standing back up and I'm walking. Now it's like I'm running again. You know, this is running again, and I think that from this point on, it's just going to be like, okay, now we can't drop the ball. What up?
Hey, what's up, Jake? How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm happy to be back, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. I was looking and it was like August 21 when we chatted last time.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, you had
Doesn't feel that late, that
yeah,
long.
I know. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. It's weird to like go back and look. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, it has been a minute.
Yeah.
Since the last time. Because I think last time you were about to release, or you didn't even have the Sun Wakes Up earlier now, yeah, out yet.
Wow.
Just the single. And then you were already working, I think, on Aren't We Gonna Be More Than Friends? Are we ever gonna be more than friends? I think you were working on that album or something. You were like, oh, my next album's gonna be all rock. Like we're recording it to analog and all this stuff, but you like were just working on it maybe at the time.
That might have not even been that album because I have another album I've been holding for forever.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's all rock that I still have. That's 11 songs that are like completely done.
Oh man. So maybe maybe it's something else. So I guess
Yeah,
we'll find out.
it's probably the album that's been held for I've had it for like 2.5 years, 3 years, probably 3 years now.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm stoked to have you back on, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, yeah. So we already kind of got your story the first time around, but I'd love to just kind of recap it a little bit, and then kind of pick up where we left off on that last interview. That's cool. See what you've got had going on, and then obviously the new album's out, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it was so we talked before the sun wakes up earlier now.
Yes, you had. I'm trying to remember. You had released maybe one single off of it. I think maybe "Daddy's Coming Home" was the single that you had just released. Maybe.
Wow, yeah. So I mean, I was still with the record label at that point.
Yeah, I know a lot has changed.
I'm not anymore. Yeah, a lot has changed. I mean, I left I parted ways with the record label. I was obviously with Republic for a while.
Huh.
And Scooter Braun, which I have no bad things to say about
Mhm.
Scooter at all. Me and Scooter actually uh split pretty amicably, so I don't have anything bad to say about that. But yeah, it was kind of a fight, obviously, because money's involved to get out of the record deal with Republic,
Sure.
and finally got out of it. And obviously, like you said, I dropped Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends? And
Mhm.
really, and then I dropped Rude, Crude, and Uncouth, which was my just acoustic project. But really, those were just like, to me, that was getting the snowball moving again,
Oh,
because
interesting.
it just had like stopped. I mean, for 2 years, I couldn't release music. So it
Mhm.
had just like stopped. I mean, from probably shortly after when I talked to you, when I put The Sun Wakes Up Earlier Now out, I had another album called Cheers to the Oddball, which I've been sitting on for a long time. It's just not time to put it out yet, but it'll come out eventually.
Is
And
that the one where you were saying that you recorded everything on analog and
yeah,
all
yeah,
of that?
it's not like all it's not all to tape or anything, but it's all, I mean, it's a rock album. It
Okay.
sounds like a 70s and meets 90s rock album. It's a really great album. I love it. It's just not time to put it out yet.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, I had that record done and there was a lot of work done on that album. And I remember when I presented it, to the label, me and the label were already not seeing eye to eye. So
Mhm.
it was like the sun, probably 6 months after I talked to you, I was beginning the process of getting out of my record deal. So then
Oh, wow.
that took 2 years. So like the combo was basically, oh yeah, you can release this album, but we're not going to option you to the second album and we're not going to pay for it. So you can release it, but we're going to own it and we're not going to pay
Pay
for
you
it,
for it.
essentially. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck that. No, I'm not going to do that. And it
Yeah.
basically came down to, look, either you guys are going to option me to the second album, which was a lot of money to get all of it done, or, you guys are going to option me to the second album, or you're going to let me out of this contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so it ended up being let me out of the contract, which is it was really what I wanted, like it kept the money sometimes keeps you coming back. So there's two sides in my brain kind of going back and forth, arguing with each other. But really what intrinsically I wanted was to be out of it, to be out of it and go independent again. And so I got out of it, but it took about 2 years to like really, go through all the legalities and get the lawyers to agree on everything and all of that. So, I mean, it's kind of like I flattened, for a second. So I had to build that snowball back up. And really, aren't we ever going to be more than friends? And Rude, Crude, and Uncouth was me just getting that shit rolling again, And now with the album that came out Friday, obviously, Beautiful Blue Collar Boy.
Yeah.
I'm working with an independent record label, super fair, super artist friendly. The deal's amazing. Like the people I work with are amazing. It's everybody's grinding. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference with a small independent company versus a large,
a Republic, right? They're going to focus on Taylor Swift's next Eras tour.
Also, I got really lucky because I really didn't want to sign a deal on Beautiful Blue Collar Boy. I kind of had the record and I had parted ways with my management at the time. I actually manage myself right now, which has been great.
Wow.
Eventually it's going to reach a point where it's too much, but I love the logistics of this. I love the business of this industry. So for me to do it, I was already really hands-on. So for me to do it myself has not been that difficult and saves me a lot of money. But I was parting ways with my management. I knew I had this album done, Beautiful Blue Collar Boy. And I knew that I wanted to do something with it. And I was kind of like, okay, let me reach out, let me like dip my toes in the water. So I put this Instagram post up saying, hey, I'm looking for distributors to, distribute my music. Like I'm looking for some type of a deal. I don't want any money. It was my first thing was like, I don't want to do a deal. I just want to own my rights and release the music. I believe in it. So like everybody came out of the fucking woodworks. I had like 40 phone calls,
That's amazing though. At least it wasn't crickets, right?
Yeah, no, realistically it was like 20, it was like probably 20 phone calls, but like 40 people came out. I had like 20 phone calls. I had a lot of good, different people reaching out to me saying they were going to do a lot of things. And then I had this phone call with Alter, who I'm with now, Alter Music. And it was this guy, Steve McGee, who I work with every day, and Mike Hayes. And they have a very interesting story that the label, I was first of all, I was the first signee to the label. So,
no way.
So it was brand new. It had started in January, and I think we signed the deal in like March.
Wow.
Or April. So it was brand new. And they were basically like, look, we all come from a background. Most of them met at 300. So they all worked at 300 Entertainment together.
Okay.
And so when 300 sold, they all kind of dispersed and did their own thing. And there's a guy named Rob Stevenson. He's the one who funded it. He's the main guy who's running Alter.
Okay.
And I talk to Rob all the time too. It's just he's not as hands-on as like Steve. Steve's like my guy, my hands-on A&R, and like he's like the COO pretty much.
Okay.
So or the GM, whatever you want to say. But Rob is kind of like a legend in the space. Like signed the Killers, signed Alice Chains, co-signed to Post Malone. Worked with everybody pretty much in the alternative into rock and pop space. So. He has a long history. He's been in the industry for like 25, 30 years. And he kind of basically just had this idea. Hey, I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to deal with the majors. I think that the system's broke. I've always thought it was broke, but now I think it's really broke and it's not going to last that much longer. Mm-hmm. And his combo was kind of like, I want to start my own thing, And so he started Alter, and he basically brought all these people that worked together under 300 when he was there. And he just, wherever they dispersed for that 2-year span, like I think Steve was at SoundCloud and Mike was over here, whatever. He just hit them all up, all his favorite people, and said, hey, I'm starting my own thing. Do you want to come be a part of this? Mm-hmm. And all of them were like, we're tired of this. Yeah, let's do it. And a lot of them took like pay cuts. Like, they're not, Steve took a pay cut. I know that for a fact. We've talked about it, and a significant one. But it's like, hey, I got the opportunity I took a pay cut, but I got the opportunity to invest. They're invested in it as much as I am because they own part of it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
all these people, you know, like I remember I walked into they're like, you know, we'll have you come by the office. He said, you know, and Rob was joking with me. He's like, look, you know, the office is nothing, it's nothing fancy. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not a fancy guy anyway. So I was like, you know, not expecting anything, but it was crazy to see. Like I walked into the office for the first time in New York, and it's a shared space in Times Square. I guess he got a deal on an office. I don't know why it's in Times Square, but it's a shared space in Times Square, and it's two cubicle rooms with 4 desks in each room.
Oh my
Like
God.
enough room to like back your chair up and stand up and walk out of the room. That's it. And then a general space where all the offices share the space. And I said, this is real. This is like a startup. This is the real deal. This is how, you know, I'm getting in at ground level, which is what you want, because essentially what we're looking to do with my project, obviously, is kind of, we're kind of looking at this at ground level, even though I'm not at ground level, obviously.
Right.
We're looking at it at ground level because I was never doing the fan acquisition. I was never doing these things that convert to, you know, actually being able to communicate with your fans and build a cult following. You know, we've obviously learned now that the ones who stick around are not the people who have the quick viral moment. It's the people.
100%. Yeah.
Sometimes it is, rarely, but
Very rarely.
the people who stick around are the people who are building this communication with your fan base. Like, you know, Mike Stud is a perfect example. Mike Stud, you know, had a song blow up in like 2015, 2016 called These Days. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
And now he goes by Mike. And, you know, I've kept up with him. I remember 7 years ago, I was at a party with him in LA, and he goes, yeah, man, I just got out of my deal. You know, I just signed this. I think he signed it some type of deal under post because long story, but essentially Mike Stud was like the guy who was originally working with Lou Bell and writing a lot of the early like flow for like Post Malone, which is crazy. But
Really
a lot of people don't know that history. So anyways, he was telling me, yeah, I'm going independent. Fuck this. I'm leaving LA. I'm just going to travel and make music and release it and tour. And I was like, oh, okay, this guy's going to, you know, whatever. Like this guy's going to do it. I hear this every day. Like,
Yeah.
let's see. And he did it. And now he's like, I mean, he's been touring for 13 years, which is a lot longer than me. I've been touring for 3, you know, but he's been touring for 13 years. And now he's going to New York and selling 10,000 tickets. And it's because he made Only Steve's, which is his, like, you know, take on OnlyFans. Obviously, it's funny. Only Steve's, which is his fan base.
Right.
But they rock with him, you know? And what I realized is like, oh man, I need to go back just because I had 1 or 2 or a couple songs that did well on a DSP, on a social status, on a viral status, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't mean I should look at this any differently than what mentality I had when I was first trying to become a musician. So now I feel like I'm back in 2017, like trying to sign my first record deal. That's what it feels like with these guys, because all of them want to win. All of them are hungry. They don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend. We're like, how do we stretch this $500 as much as we can? So it's been amazing to not only have it do so well. I mean, every single single has been playlisted on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and YouTube and all that stuff. So the playlisting and DSPs, I couldn't ask for anything better. Like we had 2 new music Fridays out of 4 singles. That's amazing.
That's
like,
huge.
You know, to be able to get any of this stuff has been amazing. And, you know, the reception has been amazing. Obviously, no numbers are like breaking the charts or anything, but considering what, you know, I had gone through and like kind of rebuilding. And like I said, looking at this from ground level, like the response has been incredible on the new album. And everybody, like, I'm so glad that I actually ended up signing a deal with them and doing some type of independent record deal, because I was really weary of it before, but I'm so glad I did it with them because everybody's so hands-on and it's just been a wonderful experience. And like, you know, we're going into the album now, right? Released on Friday. We're going into the album now. And like a lot of people, like the album comes out and they're like, okay, all the hard work is done. The singles are out. And like, we're not looking at it like that. Like we're looking at it like the album comes out and we still have 60% of the budget left, you know? So like, we're like, how do we make new moments now around Catalogs and Prairie Sheep? How do we make new moments now around We, You and I, these new songs that are on the album that maybe weren't singles, but it's like, hey, that doesn't mean we stop pushing, you know? Like the goal is to go out and this tour and have a lot of people that are listening to the new stuff. You know, you always want people saying, it's great when people know the old songs. And of course, it's amazing when you sing something like Cigarettes on Patios or Head in the Clouds at a concert and people are jumping and they know it. Like this past weekend in Somo Festival, you know, there's 3,000 people in the crowd and you're singing these songs and people know it and it's anthemic. But like, it's also great when you say like, hey, I'm going to play a new song called Bottom Dirty Shoe. And you see 10 people in the left corner, like scream like, oh my God, he's going to play it. You know, like that's even cooler because it's like, oh, they're paying attention. Those people want to hear the new stuff. They're real fans. So really right now it's been a process of me like trying and learning really how to cultivate my fan base, you know, outside of Instagram, outside of TikTok, like grab these people's information, offer them exclusive things, be like, hey, you guys are the 2,000 emails that I have. You know, you guys are the 2,000 SMS that I have. Thank you for being a BabyJake fan. Here's 20% off merch. Here's an opportunity to come and listen to a private show. We're going to pick 20 fans to come to this private show or whatever. Like it's different opportunities like that I think create that cult fan base, you know? And so I'm working on like, I think I used to look at it like, how do I shoot for the fucking stars? And I'm not shooting for the stars anymore, but now it's like, how do I get to the point where I have 50,000 diehard fans? Because if you have 50,000 diehard fans, you'll never have to work a day in your, well, you have to work, but never have to worry another day in your life about not making money off of music. Right. Because they'll go out, if 50,000 of those people and only 1% engage with your merch and you sell a vinyl for $30 and 500 people buy the vinyl, you're making money, you know? So, I mean, it's crazy. It's like you want to be cultivating that diehard fan base that you have a relationship with. And for a long time, I wasn't doing that. I wish the only regret I have about my career is that I wish I would have gone back to 2016 and started collecting first party fan data back then. So I wouldn't lose communication. Cause some of these people, you never know with these apps, like with Instagram now or TikTok, you might post a post and one day it might do 1,500 likes and the other day it might do 300 likes and you don't know why. Nobody tells you, the algorithm doesn't knock on your door and go, hey, this is why we pushed this more this day and the other day. So you never know who it's hitting. You never know, you know, what you're going to get out of it, what you're not. So I think the thing to do, and you never know when that system like Instagram or TikTok, like TikTok, you know, we've been talking about it getting banned for years now.
Yeah, years.
So It's like, what if it does? You know, like what if it really does? And then all of a sudden you blink and all these TikTok guys with all their followers, imagine China, we're just going to shut it down. It's like, where does your following go? It's dead. It's in the ground. So it's like, how do you pull those real people that actually care off of these platforms and create a home for them? You know, and that's what it's been about. And everything about this album is like, you know, I haven't cared. I feel, like I said, I feel again like I'm in 2016 and I'm trying to get into the music industry again. Obviously, I'm in my house that I bought in Nashville, and that's not the case. But like my mentality is grassroots, you know, and I'm like holding on to the ground, holding on to the horse, like riding this fucking horse, trying not to fall off. And how we're all of us are looking at it, who's involved on the BabyJake team, is like, you know, everything has to matter. The fucking color has to matter. The way that the video has to matter. The way the music sounds has to matter. The mix matters. The tour matters. What is the tour stage plot? What is the creation of the tour? Like, we're trying to now put some sort of kind of theatrics into touring, where it's like there's some sort of through line, a storyline where people get a real show, and there's anthemics, and there's this, and you know, it's called Beautiful Blue Collar Boy. We might bring a ladder on stage and have me behind this white curtain with a shadow, you know, saying, with my drummer with a hard hat on doing a fake saw and stuff for the beginning of the show. All these things that we're thinking, okay, do we have the band in matching outfits? Do that, you know, obviously the color scheme is red, white, blue, and black. So it's like, how can we, you know, incorporate that? We need to tell the sound guys, I mean, the lighting guys, like, hey, stick to red and blues. Like all these things that, you know, you don't really think about that I think make a great artist. Like we see it time and time again. I remember my buddy Oliver Jordan has been working at Dark Room with Billie Eilish for a long time. And he told me a long time ago, he's like, yeah, you know, you should really just like, he wasn't saying it in a bad way either. He was just like, yeah, you should like pick a colorway and go with it. And I remember thinking like, what are you talking about, man? Like everybody does like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, look at Billie. And I was like, what do you mean? I looked at her Instagram and it was like all at that time for that album. I don't remember when it was, but she was all black and green. Everything
Yeah,
was
yeah,
black and green.
exactly. Black
It
and
was
green.
it
That's
was
what I
all
think of when I think of Billie Eilish. I think of like that lime, neon green, and black.
and that's what it was. And so you
Yeah.
need to have that. Like I think I got a good example this past weekend playing at Somo Music Festival in Prince Edward Island. It was amazing, by the way, and a lot of friends were there. The Beaches, who's good friends of ours, and they've blown up like
Oh,
incredible.
I've had them on my show a couple times.
Dude,
Love them.
they've blown up like crazy. I remember last time I saw them live was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and it was in front of like maybe 400 people.
Yeah.
And now they're behind Greta Van Fleet in the billing, playing to 15,000.
Yeah,
So,
I know, and they had like the
it
number 1 record. They were winning Juno Awards. I mean, yeah, when I had them on in 2019, maybe, it was before the pandemic, and they were opening for, like Passion Pit or something, playing like a 1,500 seat club, and then, now they're massive, you know what I mean?
they're
It's so
huge.
cool.
But they did a great job. That like when you look at them, you think, oh, the Beaches, yeah, red and like ivory. That's their colors. It's like that's them. They pushed it and they did it over and over. Not everything was like that all the time, but they did it over and over and over again, and that was their whole thing. And like when you see them live, they've almost made their merch part of their branding. Where it's like
Mhm.
blame Greta, blame Brett, blame this, blame
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's like they've kind of made this like they've just cultivated this thing, and like when you look at that and you see that and you're friends with these people and you get to talk to them about it and like how they see it, it teaches you a lot. And I think that I had to go through everything I had to go through in the past to reach this point where like now I finally feel like I'm building. For a while, I think I was like a bit lost in translation of not sonically. I was always good at making good songs. I think that's my strong suit. And I was always good at performing. Those are my two strong suits: writing, recording, performing. Right. But like now it's like, where's the story? What's the story? Who is Jake? And so that's how I feel with this album. It's like, I really feel like my life I'm just a normal guy. The reason I called it Beautiful Blue Collar Boy is because that's who I am intrinsically. I look at music like that. When I go in and I have a schedule, like the only way that I work efficiently in music, even at home, is when I tell myself, all right, these 5 days, I'm locking in from this time to this time. I'm going to go to the gym at this time. I'm going to go to sleep at this time. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do it again. Like I look at this very much like blue collar when I got to get shit done. And if
Mhm.
I wasn't doing music, I'd probably be my dad's a shrimp salesman. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
like,
yeah, I remember you saying that in Florida, right?
yeah, I'd probably be doing like shrimp. I'd probably be selling shrimp with my dad. He doesn't do bad for himself, but I'm just saying it's like he's a blue collar guy. I'd probably be doing construction or carpentry or selling shrimp or whatever. That's just who I am. I was never like a desk guy. So it's been a process, but I feel like now, like not only sonically, but emotionally, spiritually, brand wise, team wise, it feels like it's all coming together. And I've been very selective to pick people that want to work on the project, not because of me or not because of the history or not because of this or that, but because they like the music. It should always start with, oh, I love the music. Now let's talk business, you
Right.
know? And I don't think it was that for a long time. I think it was, oh, he worked with so and so, or he did this, or he did that, or whatever. So
Or
we're
yeah, "Oh, look at the numbers on this song," or "Look at that," you know
exactly,
what I mean? 'Cause you were
yeah.
independent when cigarettes, came out, right?
Like briefly, but I signed the deal quickly. Like on SoundCloud, technically I was independent. When it came out on DSPs, I wasn't. So
Oh, but that wasn't the but that's kinda what got the attention of people, right? Was that song?
yeah,
Or
but it
is it
was kind
better?
of true, but it was kind of a gimmick too. It was kind of like a
Uh,
storyline. That was kind of like the storyline with me and Scooter. So it was like it was a bit,
oh,
but like we were already it came out on SoundCloud before I was signed, but
uh-huh.
we had already had conversations about doing the deal. So it was like we were already planning to do a deal. That was just the storyline that everybody was like, "All right, let's pick this storyline and roll with it." But
Got it, okay.
now that I'm out and now that me and Scooter have a good relationship, he doesn't care. I'm like, "Oh, let's tell the truth."
Here's the real story.
Yeah, but it's kind of like that song didn't really catch until I mean, again, it did catch clearly, but it didn't
Right,
catch until I was already signed to the deal and stuff. But I think
okay.
I think that it was a crazy moment, obviously, because it was my first song. And so even if it wasn't for COVID, that song couldn't have come. And I'm very thankful that it came period, because I think it's amazing to have a hit song. But that song couldn't have come at a worse time because it was COVID, one. So song comes out a year later when it's really boom. I mean, when COVID hit, it was doing like 250,000 streams a day. So like COVID hits, it's like can't tour, right? You can't go anywhere. You can't build this thing out anyway. And
Right.
also,
Other than just digitally, right?
other
Like,
than digitally, which is
yeah.
like that's not the way to do it for me
No,
personally. Like the
especially
way to,
once you what you're just saying, right? I mean, a 10,
yeah.
2 million plays isn't equivalent to like 5,000 tickets in each city that you go to.
No, which is crazy. I mean, we're seeing that now. Like I'm going, like I have 1.5 million monthly listeners, and some of these bigger songs, like Cigarette still does like I think 35,000, 40,000 views a day, but it doesn't. It like I'm going out and play the biggest show that I'm playing on this tour is 700 cap. You know what I mean? So it's
Oh,
like it's
that's
like
still a good room. I mean, you're playing Exit In, I think, Nashville, right?
yeah, yeah. So no, it's great. Like I'm not complaining. I actually love the stage I am in my touring career. And like you have to build this stuff up, right? This is all
Right.
like this is the collection of I wish I was doing this again, like I said from a long time ago, because I think there's some people that don't even know that I'm on tour that would come right now, but I just
Mhm.
don't have the information to reach out to them. So yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying you would think based on numbers and based on how big the song was, you'd be like, oh,
Right.
we playing to 2,000 people a night, but
Right. Exactly.
but that's not how it works. So especially in the digital era, but yeah, I love that the song's a hit, and like now I don't have any, I think in the past maybe I had some like these issues with it because it didn't feel whatever, it wasn't authentic to me or whatever. But like
Mhm.
man, now I love it. Like people love it live. People enjoy, listening and knowing. I think the worst thing you can do when you're a dope artist and people like your shit is not play your hits. I think that's
Right, right.
fucking lame. Like I love Bob Dylan, but for Bob Dylan to go out on tour, and I saw him in Nashville, and like I just had to see him because I'd never seen him, and it's Bob Dylan, right? So you're gonna come.
Right.
But like for him to come and like the only song he plays that I know is "To Be Alone with You," and he plays like a fucking ass backwards version. It's like, dude, just
Oh
play,
man.
just play one.
Yeah.
You
That
know what I
was
mean?
I went and saw Bob Dylan. I mean, it was years ago. It was before Kings of Leon blew up. He had them opening up for him.
Yeah,
And it was the same thing, man. I was so excited. I'm like, I'm gonna see all the hits. I mean, he played, the hits, but you would never recognize them because he's playing keys and the band. It just nothing sounded. I'm like, the lyrics are matching, but nothing else makes any sense.
yeah. It's just it's a shame. Like I get it from a
But it
musical
was
perspective. I totally understand it, but like eh, you gotta play. You gotta be okay with like accepting that maybe you've heard this song 10,000 times, but somebody else, it's like they might have just discovered it last week and it might be their favorite song. Or
right, right.
somebody else, like it might resemble, like it's crazy. Cigarettes on Patios is clearly like a party anthem type song. But like
Mhm.
people have come up to me at shows and been like, this saved my life, and like when you hear that, you're like, okay, just because like I view this song a certain way doesn't mean somebody else does, so you need to respect that and be okay with like once the song is in the world, it's not my song anymore, it's the world song, so like if it goes, it goes. It's not your fucking decision, it's your job to play it and make sure people love it. And when you happen to when your hairstyles are Dua Lipa, you can pick what hit you want to play, but like
Right,
uh,
right.
until you're at that level, you better play the ones that people want to hear. Like, I'm going out on this tour and I'm gonna play a lot of new music because the new album just came out. And obviously I've
Mhm.
had albums in the past years that people like stuff on too. But I'm still gonna play the Cigarettes, I'm still gonna play the Head in the Clouds, I'm still gonna play the Confidant, I'm still gonna like, maybe bring Blue Cellophane back. I haven't played that live on a tour, and like different songs that I think people really like, and it doesn't give you, I don't think, the jurisdiction to be like, oh, I'm not going to play that.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I'm not playing that song anymore. It's too old or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, like
well,
you can choose.
yeah,
I think the way you do it is like choose where to put it in the set list. Like
yeah.
maybe we put Cigarettes like halfway through, or like somewhere where okay, there's more to the show than
This
just
isn't
the
the
song.
closer. Yeah.
Yeah, like for a while last tour, the end of last tour, I played it first.
Oh, that's rad,
And I
actually.
played it first, and I would be like, "Here's the song," here's the moment. Grab your phones, and once we're done with this, you get the rest of the concert. You know? I don't think we're gonna do it like that this time, but I think like halfway through or a little bit further or whatever, I think is cool instead of putting it last. I think last you should put something maybe like, I don't know. Me and my drummer were talking about it. It's kind of cool when you don't put a really heavy song last. It's kind of cool when you like do a really heavy song and then your last song is like a bit softer because it leaves people like thinking like, damn, that was a really awesome like that was a beautiful concert, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a thing. Like we're talking about it right now, but I'm excited to go back on the road and like be on another headline, tour that hopefully, like I said, the goal is to just keep building this thing and hopefully next year, like I got to open up for Hobo Johnson. That was incredible. I went out there,
rad.
did the acoustic thing. It was literally just me and an acoustic guitar. So it gave me a lot of confidence in like performing solo by myself too. And I learned a lot of songs just to perform by myself so that I can go out and do that.
Are you incorporating that into your set at all? Are you going to come out like play something from the acoustic album, just you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know. It's getting to the point now, man, where it's like I'm actually at a blessed point where I can pick and choose. Like, obviously, I want to play the new stuff because I just released the album and I want people to like go to that and love that. And that's I still believe in that way of showcasing your music and like marketing your music. I think that's a huge way is live, but at the same time, like, I'm in this position now where like there's a lot of BabyJake songs, so.
Yeah, you put out a lot of music, man.
I can pick like, what I want to play and what I don't. I think that the two albums, obviously, that'll be a little scarcer will be the Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends and Rude, Crude, and Uncouth. Those two albums to me, I'm probably going to only play 2 or 3 songs from each one. I'll probably play all of the new album or most of it. And then, some of the older songs that people want to hear and a couple covers. I mean, it's going to be a long set. It's going to be probably an hour and a half long set if I had to guess. So.
That's awesome. Are you going to do the Stones cover?
Yeah, for sure. I always play that. I love the Stones cover. Beast of Burden's like still one of my favorite songs to perform live. And we do it in such a cool way that it always hits.
I love that you do that because I think last time we talked, you were referencing that song as kind of like a North Star point to this album, which might have been this one that you've been sitting on. You were like, yeah, like, I just like love this like I love the Stones, like Beast of Burden, like that just vibe. And then we were talking about like the backing singers, like even in the album and the single was Mama's Coming Home, or what's it called?
Daddy's Coming Home.
Daddy's Coming Home.
Yeah.
That song, you have like chorus backup singers in it and stuff. I mean, you were kind of referencing that as well. And then you released that cover. I was like, oh, no way. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And like it feels great to release a cover and a lot of people reach out and we're like, hey man, I like this shit better than the song. And that's that's really cool because the worry is always like you release the cover and people are like, it's garbage. This our original is better. But like people like my version and it did, fairly well. I mean, it did the best out of any song on that album. So but it actually is like it has like 4,000 TikTok videos made to it or something like that, which is crazy because
crazy.
When Universal took down the original, right? When that whole thing happened, I think people just found the cover because mine was independent and just started fucking using it. It's like all these old people that just like are reminiscing on their past, I guess. But I'm definitely gonna play that. We play a cover that I've really been liking lately of Don't Let Me Down by the Beatles.
I love that song.
Yeah, we do an awesome like cover that's in 6/8. So the original song's in 4/4, but we do it in 6/8 and it's really cool. So I'm trying to like at this point now with my setup, we've been recording a lot of the live shows. So I'm trying to like put out and compile a live album that has all like maybe 10 songs that sound really good. And like I might even like this past weekend I did this song called Bread and Butter that was off of Don't Give Me Problems, Give Me Wine. And I really never liked the record. Well, but back then I liked the recording, but now I listen back to the recording. I'm like, oh, this song's too like Popeyes. It should be more like alternative. So there was actually a live, like, I think it'd be really cool to bring these songs back, in a certain way and like drop a live album just for fun. That's like Cigarettes, is we don't play it the same way. We play it like rock and roll, with a guitar.
Right.
I mean, not like Bob Dylan different, but
Yeah,
like,
it's not the same like as the original recording was. It didn't have that rock and roll vibe
no,
behind it.
yeah. And this
Yeah.
time we play it with live drums and a guitar playing it. Bah, bah, nah, bah, 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 bah. And it's like very like rocking in a different version. I feel like it'd be cool to like put out a live album that just has like all these different songs, maybe some new songs like live, but like maybe 4 or 5 old songs that you would be like, oh shit, that's cool that he plays it that way,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
whatever. But yeah, we're getting to the point now where we're I'm starting to get really confident with the live show, and that's like my bread and butter, so no pun intended. But yeah, I think that the goal is like go out, do this headline run, push this album, and then going into next year, like probably we might even go to Florida in December. I'm kind of talking about it right now with my agent and stuff, just because like those southern states have nice
Yeah,
weather.
nice. Right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Nashville won't be the best spot to stay probably,
yeah.
but
Also, just like I haven't been to Florida besides the Hobo tour to play Orlando. Like a lot of people want me to come back to Florida and play shows, and like even if it's smaller rooms, like we could just go and do a little quick like week or 2 week long run in Florida. And yeah, I think the goal maybe next year would be to hop on, a bigger tour with somebody playing 3 to 5 thousand caps and bring the whole band, instead of just doing a solo, bring the whole band and play a lot of festivals. And I know we're probably going to do Tree Fort next year and try to pitch for
nice.
Lollapalooza again. And I don't know, and then go into another, I'm working on the deluxe album right now for this album that just came out, and I'm very excited.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what how many more songs are you gonna add?
I think like 3 or 4.
Damn.
I think maybe one of them might be like again like maybe an alternate or a live version of one of the songs that's already on there. But I think
Okay.
there'll be about 3. I'm gonna say 3 confidently new songs, and we're gonna do it a cool way because people don't really usually people just drop the deluxe, but we're probably gonna like drop the deluxe songs, at least 2 of them as singles. So it'll be
Oh,
like
rad.
continually pushing the album and letting this kind of ecosystem and organism breathe and grow, more than just like putting it out there. So I think the idea, I actually was working on one yesterday that I'm really, really fucking excited about. And yeah, I've just it's been crazy. This whole process of this album has been crazy because I did most of it like this in my studio room. So I did
Oh,
most
no. So you recorded it there at your house?
I did most of it in this room. Yeah. So
Dang.
I have a wire up to the left. You can't see it right now, but it goes upstairs into the den, and the
Uh-huh.
den I made into a drum room.
No
So
way.
I have all my drum mics up there, so I can record. I can pretty much record a 4-piece live band in my house, which is awesome. Like so,
That's rad.
like Lightning Yellow Hair on the album
Uh-huh.
was
That's a
there's
great
no
song.
thank you. There's no metronome to it. It's just like me and 3 friends, and we're just recording it one take. So,
Wow.
yeah, we added like the banjo and the piano like as overdubs, and the vocals obviously were overdubbed, but the acoustic guitar, drums, bass, and electric guitar were all one take together. And it's not to a metronome. So it's really cool to have the ability to do that versus like some other songs like Mama 2 and 2, which are clearly to a metronome.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say, like, when you were talking about doing, like, a reimagined version of a song, I was thinking, like, yeah, that'd be rad if you did, like, a slow, like, piano of, like, Mama 2 and 2 just because it's so
yeah,
fast.
that's actually a great idea. Like maybe an acoustic version, like
Yeah.
any version of that song. I've also been considering like the Beaches have a let me look this up because I'm gonna butcher this name. I think it's called When a Tree Falls. Do you know that song?
I'd have to see what album. I'm so bad with names, I'd have to see that record it was on.
It's called If a Tree Falls. They have this song that I heard this past weekend called If a Tree Falls that I really liked. And they did like this acoustic version where it was just these giant harmonies on this main stage with an acoustic guitar, and that was it. And I was like, yo, that song, I was like talking to JoJo after, and I'm like, hey, that song is really awesome. And she was like, hey, maybe we should do a version together. And I was like, that would be fucking sick. So I don't know.
Hell yeah.
I'm kind of like I've been talking to some of the beach weather guys too about like potentially writing some stuff. And there's this guy in Nashville called Noah Flourish. Are you familiar with him?
No.
He had a song called Ghost of Chicago that was pretty big on TikTok, and it's like now he's
Okay.
on his own headline run, and his new album, and I mean his new records have been doing really well. He's an awesome guy, good friend of mine. So I don't know. I was thinking for a while, like maybe make the deluxe like a lot of friends that I hop on, but I'm going one of two ways. I'm either gonna do that, or I'm probably most likely now because of the timing, gonna just keep it just Jake. But then
Mhm.
the idea, because hopefully I just continue to work with this. The goal is like the deal that I'm in right now with Alter is a 1+1.
Okay.
So the idea is like, hey, let's push this, let's go into the next album cycle, and I think everybody's kind of in the same headspace, so I think the goal is kind of going to be like January, February to start focusing on the next, record, and maybe start putting it out around the same, time as this record came out this year, and start pushing that. And the next one, I really want to incorporate like a lot of my friends on it. I think that'd be a really cool thing to like get Jonah Kagan and Noah Flourish and the Beaches and Beach Weather, and like, maybe all these different people that are cool or are based in Nashville to be on the record, I think would be a cool thing. So, but yeah, super hyped about the deluxe. That's gonna be really fun. Put a vinyl's
Yeah, the
coming.
vinyl's cool. I saw just the images on your Instagram.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So the first 300, I think it's either 150 or 300. I keep saying 300 because they're actually selling really well right now, which is amazing. But the first 300 are numbered, and they have that white disc with the blue
Yeah, the
centerpiece.
blue center.
And
Okay.
then after that, the ones I bring on tour will just be a black disc. So the first 300 are like kind of the collector's edition, which I think is really cool, to do stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Okay.
stoked to like have a vinyl, and like again, the sun wakes up earlier now. I had a vinyl for, but like that album was so awesome and got slept on so hard because of me and the label going like this, you know. So I feel like this is the first time that I have like all this merch and all this stuff that I'm so excited about. And I was like had such a hand in, and I'm like, hell yeah, it's like going well. So yeah, there's a vinyl. Super excited about the album. We should talk about the album. Yeah,
We should.
tell me what you think. I've been
Dude, I
yapping.
love the album. I think the album is awesome. Like I love that transition you do from "Don't Hurt Me So Bad." That's a slow like piano song, and then it goes into like like the drums start with "Mama 212," and then the guitar comes in, and then like that's just like a melt your face
Yeah,
like punk rock song.
totally.
I love the first song on the record. How it just sets the tone for the album. I mean, I think it's a killer record, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Like I think that I got this compliment. I think you're kind of saying this too with the "Don't Hurt Me So Bad" and "Mama 2 and 2." This the other day, this fan was like, "I just love the sequence,"
Yeah.
and that means so much because that's the little shit I'm talking about. When
Mhm.
you're like, you don't like people don't think that matters, but it does. It does. Like that's the little shit that I spend like 3 days on being like, no, that's not the right order. No, that's not the right order.
I
No, that's not.
love I love albums because of that, because I came from radio, and, this started because radio's dying, but, just like programming of a playlist, or, a set, or I know that's gotta take you guys so much time to sit down and be like, how yeah, we have 15 songs, 13 songs, whatever, but it's not like, okay, this is the first song we wrote, and the second song we wrote, and the third song we wrote. It's like you gotta sit there and figure out, right, the sequencing of how is this thing gonna flow and make sense, if you were to just put it on, walk away, right?
100%. And also, like when you're doing that, you come back to it and you have to look at it differently than in the working process, because when you're working at it, you're like recording and writing. Now you've listened to the song fucking 2,000 times,
Yeah.
and you got to look at it and be like, okay, take the producer hat off and just look at the sequencing and pick. And you got to not think about like, oh, well, maybe this or that could be different. No, it's like, okay, we're out of that mindset. It takes you fucking a week to get out of that mindset and just pick the fucking songs anyways.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Do you have to just walk away from it and then
I
just
think
put it
I
on like
think
a new ears type deal?
I think so. I think for me, I don't have to walk away that far. I think I'm more like a throw shit at the wall and then like take some shit away and then throw it at the wall and take some shit away. Like that's how I work. People work differently. I'm just like I run too hot. I run too fast to be like, all right, I'm gonna take a week away from this shit. Like I'm always working. Like we got back. yesterday from that festival. And like, I maybe got 2 hours of sleep the night before because it was like a lot of traveling, a lot of this. And I was like, all right, Tim, like, I want to do these drums for this. Are you ready? He's like, dude, I don't know how you have so much energy. I'm like, I don't know how to not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just who I am. But yeah, I think that the process of creating this album was like really organic. And to me, I don't know how you feel about it. I'd be curious how you feel about it too. But to me, this record feels new. It doesn't feel old. Like when I listen to it, when I listen to Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends or Rude, Crude, and Uncouth, I'm like, these are great and there's great songs. But clearly I was influenced by a lot of old stuff. And some of it even seems a little old, right? Just by the way it's written or sonically, whatever. Some of it doesn't. Some of it sounds totally new. Like Honey Eye is one of the songs on Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends that I think is like, it sounds more like it should have belonged on this album, you know? So, but like this album to me, when I listen to it, I'm just like, this shit's fresh. Like it sounds all fresh. Like everything sounds fresh. And I think it took me, you know, from being over here to swing hard over here and grow the shag out, to come back to the middle, to be like, who is Jake? How am I, you know, even with my hair, you can see like, you know, I'm comfy with a bald head and a little bit of a beard and wearing the clothes that I like to wear or whatever. And I started to change even my fashion and even this and even that, and start to realize like, okay, what am I comfy in? What do I like? You know, not like what am I influenced by and what do I want to be, but like, who am I? Really, who am I? You know? And so I think it took me a while to swing back to the middle. And now I look at music and I'm not like, oh, it needs to be this or it needs to be that. That's why I'm really excited about not only this deluxe, but the next record, which I've already started to record ideas for and stuff. And like, I'm always writing, so I'm always making music. You know, this is the first time that like, I'm going back to my roots of like listening to like the Gorillas, for example.
Oh, okay.
You know, and like, and listening. And when I listen to the Gorillas, I'm like, man, why did I love this album so much? And I go back and I listen to it and I'm like, oh, I know why I love this album so much, because they don't sound like any genre. They just sound like fresh fucking music. Like they got rap on there. They got alternative on there. They've got drum loops on there from drum machines. They've got synth basses on there. They've got real basses on there. They've got fake strings on there. They've got real strings on there. They've got a kids choir on there. They've got, you know, fake whatever on there. They've got real guitar. It's like they were playing Damon Albarn, I think is how you say his last name.
Yeah.
Was playing by no rules. And I think that the way you make the best music is by playing by no rules. It's not like, oh, you need to be a pop artist or, oh, you need to be 70s, you know, all analog. I think it's like, nah, okay, this song sounds like it should go to tape, but this song sounds like it needs a synth bass on it. You know, and to obviously I'm a guy who likes to hop genres already.
I was gonna say, yeah. Even on this album, it's not like you're hopping genres, but like you have a song like Mama 212, and then more like like acoustic. I think Who's Gonna Change the World is more like the acoustic based song.
Yeah. And like you said, Don't Hurt Me So Bad going before Mama too. Yeah. Like that's like a ballad, like a Beatles ballad to like a punk rock song, you know. And I think like Cattle Dogs and Prairie Sheep is like this acoustic, sad acoustic going into this big explosion of punk rock again. And so, and then Ginger Red's like a jazz song, you know. So it's like it's but it all makes sense, and that's my point. It all makes sense on this album, and I don't know exactly how. I couldn't even tell you why. I don't know why it makes sense, but I know that when I listen to it and I feel it, it makes sense. And I think that's what matters, you know, is that I listen to it and I go, oh, okay, maybe I'm not following all the rules, you know, or whatever. Maybe I'm not putting myself in such a small box. I'm allowing myself to, you know, break open the box a little bit, but it still feels authentic and it still feels real. And it doesn't feel like I'm jumping from here to here or whatever, you know. And now, even now, like there's some songs on, you know, that I want to put either on, again, I don't know if it's coming on the deluxe or on the next record, but there's a song that I've been working on called Pump It Up. That's like, I'm rapping on the second verse, you know, but I think it can work, you know. And I sent it to Rob and Steve and they were like, Steve's like, man, this is a fucking hit, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I sent it to Rob and Rob's like, yeah, this is a hit, but like, you know, do you think you could add some guitars to it? And at first I was like, I don't know, man, the song's done. It's like, you know, I know it's a pop song more so than not, but it has live elements. There's live horns on it, you know, this, that. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, look, You know, you're talking about the gorillas, you're talking about these people, like, try to break it. Try to break it even more open. Try to make it even more universal, because I think if we're at it, if I'm able to add all these elements, then it's like, wait a second, he's like rapping in the second verse, and he's got auto tune on his voice, but like there's a like distorted guitar throughout the song, and there's a drum loop, but the drum loop has 16th hi-hats, but there's live horns. Like, what is this shit? Is it alternative? Is it pop? Is it rap? Is it? I think that's the pocket of me, you know, is like, what is this? But it needs to be what is this? Oh my God, I love it. It doesn't need to be a like, what is this? I don't get it. You know?
Right, right.
So
What
I
it
think
yeah, I love that other way you said that. Yeah. What
there's
is
a
this? I love it. I'm not what is this? I don't understand what's going on here.
yeah, and that's a fine line, and I think for a while I might have even separated my audience by how much I crossed that line. You know, it's like cigarettes and maybe even I'm just gonna say cigarettes 239. Let's say even like maybe even some of the Sun Wakes Up Earlier Now with more of the hip hop stuff. Maybe those people are left, and then you know maybe the aren't we ever gonna be more than friends? Even I'll even say don't give me problems, give me wine. The people who listen to that probably
Mhm,
understand the rock stuff too. Probably,
mhm.
maybe not all the time, but I feel like there's kind of this line separation from early on in my career that I'm trying to kind of just like now I've turned it and I've started to push it back together. And I feel like, you know, over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, I can really go like that with it and make it like all make sense. You know, I don't think like, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers is another perfect example. Like Anthony Kiedis is rapping on a lot of those songs.
Oh
You
yeah.
you don't
100%.
you don't notice it. You're not like, oh, this is weird because you know he's rapping on this one, but he's singing on this one. The only thing the through line that I've noticed myself, and the biggest through line, which I wish I could go back and maybe change this part in those songs. Not change it. Again, I don't regret anything, but the biggest through line for me is the drums.
Hmm.
The drums need to either be a drum machine that sounds live or live drums or a sample loop of live, like we, you and I, that's a loop, you know, that's just boop, tut, boop, tut, boop, tut, boop, tut, the whole time. It's like a fucking 4 bar loop. You know, it's by this guy named Jake Reed, incredible drummer in LA. And I think that live drums or the sound or the fake sound of live drums is the through line with how you stick it in a pocket where it's like, okay, you know, we don't know whether this is alternative or rock or pop or whatever. You know, that's like it's like don't give me problems, give me wine. You know,
Mhm.
that album is very like, what is this?
Right.
It was coming out at the same time with like Dominic Fike and all these people that were kind of breaking, you know, Remy Wolf, all these people that were breaking the boundaries of like what you could call alternative. But it
Mhm.
is alternative, you know, and a lot of those songs, those are most of those songs are drum loops, but they sound live. So
Yeah.
because they sound more like even I'm not even gonna say live, but they sound more, you know, alt pop rock drum wise, they still fit in that pocket. That's why I can play a song like Confidant live and then play a song like Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends live back to back, and they don't sound weird. You
Mhm.
know, and even the way we play cigarettes now, it doesn't sound weird. But if I played like a MP3 of cigarettes and then I played an MP3 of Confidant and then I played an MP3 of Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends, Confidant and Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends would make more sense than cigarettes and Aren't We Ever Gonna Be More Than Friends, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So
100%. It's
so I
interesting that that you said it's the drums. I was gonna my what I would have said if it I think it's your voice too though, because I think because you're
yeah.
such a great singer, you can do the rap thing and it makes sense, but then you can also sing, you know, a fast song like Mama 212, and then you can also hit the like ballads because your voice
Well, thank
is
you.
good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that same with Kiedis. Like Anthony Kiedis has an incredible voice. That's why he can do the little rappy kind of funk jazz stuff, and then he also can sing a song like, you know, whatever, Under the Bridge, and you're like, "Oh, shit, like, this guy's good."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like with your voice, like, you can do so much with it, where a lot of other artists are kind of stuck in this one, like, one dimension of, like, "I can do this one thing, so all records are gonna sound similar to this one thing," but you can kind of do more because your voice allows you to. I don't and that's
Oh,
just my opinion.
totally. No, no, I agree. Thank you, first of all. And I agree. I just think that there again, there's a fine line. It's like sometimes you can make the argument that maybe doing the same thing is better
Yeah.
because then you can get this a custom fan base. Now it's like we're even facing this now with this album, not in a bad way. We're taking it on, you know, head on and really excited about it. But I just got back, and of course I'm flying out and on Thursday night already back to go somewhere else, to go to New York, because that's where Alter Music is based, and we're gonna shoot content all weekend. We've got this idea to do all this content. My videographer from here is coming with me. We're meeting up with the director out there who's very talented, and doing all this kind of content because now we want to prioritize socials. Obviously, I'm going on tour and going to be doing these things in, you know, 4 weeks. It's actually, yeah, yesterday it'll be 4 weeks away, our first date on tour. And so we're trying to prioritize kind of all this TikTok and Instagram and social media content to get it all a lot shot before I start going on the road and start posting just a lot of live stuff.
Mhm.
So, you know, we're going to New York, and it's like me and Steve are having this combo, and it's like, okay, well, you know, we're having this combo. I'm literally loading on the plane, like pulling my passport out. I'm on the phone with him, like leaving Charlottetown, you know, Prince Edward Island, like fucking in a rush. Like we're the last people boarding on the plane, and I'm on the phone. There's like jet engines behind me. And I'm like, he's talking to me. He's like, yeah, we just need the story. We need the through line, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, I'm telling you, man, we got to look at this like each song is its own story, because that's who I am. It's like it really can't, this whole album and none of my albums probably ever will be able to be, here's the storyline, here's the through line for the album. We can have
here's the concept album or type deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could write a concept album, but I'm sonically, I mean, you know, they're gonna sound a little different.
Right.
And I told him, I was like, we just need to break everyone down in its own life. You know, that's the way to do it for this content. That's the way to do it for us to be successful at looking at each one of these songs. So let's start looking at it by a song to song basis, and start breaking down the content, start breaking down the visuals, start breaking down the captions, like everything, to a song to song basis. Because if we look at this as a whole thing, we're going to get lost. It's too windy of a road. It makes sense when you listen to it, but if we try to draw a through line through this, it's going to be like, you know, like we got to draw a straight line through each song and put them on little spikes. You know, that's the way to do it, literally, like a barbecue or something. So we're having that convo about, like, there is a through line, and I think you're right, and thank you again. Like, I think my voice does shine, and that it's like, oh wow, this guy can turn around and like sing "We, You, and I," or the boat of us, perfume and pills, you know, and turn around and be, oh yeah, mama too, you know, totally different. And then Don't Hurt Me So Bad, totally different, but like makes sense. But now it's like, how do we take those songs and breathe life into each one of them? How do we make them all make sense? How do we make it, you know, how do we give each one of these the opportunity to have a moment, you know? And I think that's the challenge. The challenge is not for me making the great music, touring the great music. The challenge for me is, okay, for the first time in my life, I'm looking at my Instagram, I'm going, okay, this is how the grid looks. I want it to look like this. This is what I'm aiming for. These are, okay, well, I'm going to go shoot a TikTok video. All right, let me find a white wall. Let me wear a pair of blue jeans and a white shirt, because I want to keep the colorway for white, you know, red, white, blue, and black. You know, let me go find a black wall. Let me find a red wall. Let's make sure that if we're shooting at if we're going to shoot a video, that we're going to shoot it around those colors. Let's make sure those colors are in the background. Let's make sure hints of those colors are here. Let's make sure the merch is, you know, goes with those colors. Let's make sure this, that, and the other. And I think that's, you know, kind of, that's kind of where I'm starting to figure out now. It's more, it could be possibly even more important than the music, is how much you breathe your own life and your own branding of who you are into the music. Because without that, you don't have the Jake in it. You know, it's just like the music, and that's cool on an online spec, and that's cool to listen to. But it's like, how do you make people want to see me? How do you make people want to go out and meet me? How do you make people want to say that I'm their favorite artist, not that Don't Hurt Me So Bad is their favorite song?
Right.
That's a difference. That's a huge difference to say, oh no, Jake's my favorite artist, not Mama 212 and Don't Hurt Me So Bad are my favorite songs. It's like, no, I love this artist. You know, that's a huge thing, because those people who love that artist are going to go see his concert, are going to go buy his merch, are going to go vouch for him, are going to shoot content around him, are going to use his songs for content, are going to do all these things that grow you into being, you know, a artist of substantial size, which is what I want to be, obviously. And nowadays, like I say this all the time, like in 2-3 years, if I can be at the point in 2 to 3 years, let's say by the time I'm 27 now, let's say by the time I'm 30 years old, if I can be at the point where I can sell 1,500 tickets per venue, I would be happy. That's a goal. That's a goal.
Yeah.
1,500, 2,000 tickets. That's a goal of mine. I would be happy if I can get to that point and never get bigger. I'm not looking at this like I need to be Harry Styles. Would I like to be? Sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But we're very much looking at this, not just me, my entire team is looking at it like, how do we make a good living for everybody off of this? How do we make a good living for everybody off of this? We don't have to be rich, but how do we make how do we use you as the first artist signed to Alter and show that it worked?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I told them in not the first meeting, but the first full meeting that we had with Rob, with everybody on the team, I said, look, I executively produced this album. The next album, I might even try to mix myself. I'm very hands-on. I'm working with other artists. I'm producing other artists. I'm doing other things. I'm always finding new stuff I'm passionate about. I don't just want to be an artist. I want to sign artists. I want to help develop artists. I want to do this. I want to do that. So if we can build this relationship together in which your success is my success is your success, and we're building a foundation together, then I'm cool. I'm in, and that's that's the way that I look at it. It's like, I think I shot so big so fast that I didn't get time to climb. So now I'm at the top and I'm still scared of heights.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't get
Uh-huh.
time to climb up the fucking rock wall that's okay. I got a rope. It's fine. I didn't get time to do that. I'm just at the top and I'm looking over. I'm fucking scared. So that's what happened with cigarettes. And I think that I didn't necessarily fall, but I stumbled a bit because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my career. I didn't know even how the career moved and operated, how it breathed, how the ecosystem lived. I didn't know what I wanted out of the ecosystem. And now I'm in a spot where, even last when you probably talked to me, I was already probably saying some things like this, but now I'm in a spot where I know myself very well. And I know what I want very well. And I know that this album to me is the first representation of, okay, we're back. Aren't we ever going to be more than friends? And Rude, Crude, and Uncouth was like, okay, I'm standing back up and I'm walking. Now it's like I'm running again. This is running again. And I think that from this point on, it's just going to be like, okay, now we can't drop the ball. Now the snowball is fucking moving again. And it's like, okay, we can't drop it. It's like, we got to keep going. It's like, I got to keep touring. I got to keep putting out music. I got to be recording. You got to be full-time fucking job. You got to be putting out the content, and a lot of people aren't in the music industry, don't do things like you, don't do things like me, might not understand it. But I think that the closer you are to it, the more you realize, like, it's amazing to do this for a living, but it's also work. It's also
A lot of work, yeah, and it's not just it's not the glitz and it's not like 1980s hair metal where you just, like, think these guys just show up, get trashed, and put on a show and go party. It's like, it's never been like that, and
Yeah.
it's hours and hours and hours and hours, like, yeah, a 40-hour work week would be probably great for somebody like, that's not your life, right? I mean, it's like you're doing so many hours over that. It's not, "Okay, I show up at 8 and I leave at 4." It's, "I show up at 6 and then we could be here till 3 in the morning the next day. We
And
just gotta get the shit done."
that's why I look at it as, I try to look at it as much as I can. And again, why I named the album Beautiful Blue Collar Boys, because I try to look at it as much as I can now as structuring it like that 40-hour work week. Because if you don't, you'll go crazy. You'll be paying attention to every like, you'll be paying attention to every comment, you'll be paying attention to everything, which I'm good at already. I respond to everybody all the fucking time. But I try to look at it and be like, when am I locking in? What are my time periods? Okay, let's get this, like, let's book the rehearsals for October now so I can plan. Okay, I'm going in October 2nd, October 3rd. Band's coming in October 7th, October 8th. Those are the days. If we need an extra day, I'll book it, the day before, the day after. I'll leave it open. Before then, okay, what days going to New York this week? Okay, what days next week can I lock in for 8 hours that day, record, work on just this? Because you'll start to, especially like what I've learned with managing myself, is like, you'll start to just start doing all of it at one time and start doing this and be juggling. You can't juggle forever. You got to just pick one ball up and be like, all right, let's peel this orange and set it down. Let's peel this orange, set it down. And that's the way to do it. So I think it's like you start to realize you can't, it's like you said, it's never been that way. Back then it was a little easier to be a prima donna because they would just hold your hand on the jet, you know, but like,
Right.
and it was very much like, I mean, also they lost a lot more fucking money because
Right.
vinyls, you know, there's physical sales of CDs, vinyls, radio, all this stuff, where the label was just collecting so much more money, you
Of
know?
course. Yeah,
So
there was no one streaming the music. It was like you heard the single on the radio and then you bought the 15-song album and hoped that you liked more than just that one song you
yeah,
heard.
yeah, exactly. And so I think that now is obviously the best time. I think, you know, we don't get paid enough. We don't for any of this shit, but we will, and it'll continue to improve and systems will continue to improve and payments will continue to improve. But it's the best time to be in anything digital because anything that you can use the digital front for, because now you have the ability to like, I don't know, you know, maybe tomorrow, one of the songs that was off of Rude, Crude, and Uncouth that was a C-side blows up on TikTok, you
Yep.
know? And then all
And
of a sudden, that's the record. You know what I mean? And it's
and it's
like,
happened, numerous times,
so it's an amazing time to be in. I think that it, it's a wild world, but you have to have that balance. I think the more that I've been able to schedule it, I guess would be the word, the better I do it with everything. The more that I've been able to schedule and be disciplined to a certain schedule, to like, the more that I really take time for myself in everyday life, the more that I succeed in the music thing and the more that I'm more calm about it and not worry about it. Don't compare to other people. Don't do this, don't do that. You know, like you can get caught up in that shit. And I think a lot of artists do get caught up in that shit where they're just comparing and they're looking at numbers all day and they're doing this and they're trying to, at the same time, they're trying to write and at the same time they're trying to play live and trying to do this shit. It's like, no, knock one thing out at a time. Knock one thing out at a time. Like, be like, if I'm going to lock in these 3 days and record, you're going to lock in those 3 days and you're going to record. It doesn't matter what text comes in. Deal with it afterwards, you know, because that's like real life shit. Like, that's your 9 to 5 fucking work week, you know? And I think that's the best way to do it is like, if you start, and for a second I did, if you start losing this, like, I love to work out. I've been a physical guy my whole life. If I start losing that, I can't work out. If I start losing that, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to do that. I can't go on my walk. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't eat healthy, whatever. It's too hard, blah, blah, blah. You start to just spiral, you know, not only mentally, physically, you'll start to spiral, all this stuff. And, you know, I think like even Greta, when we saw them this last weekend, like, I'm friends with the drummer, so we got to sit side stage. It was awesome. And I remember I was like looking up an interview. I think I was like looking up, because I knew they had like an original drummer. So I was like looking up who the original drummer was, or some nerd shit after, right? I'm like late at night, like looking up like, how does he
Well,
play
they're
that
all
one?
brothers, right? Or
Besides the drummer. Besides the
okay.
drummer. But
He's
yeah,
the only not
they're also
family member.
yeah, they're also in Nashville. So
Oh,
they're based,
I didn't know that. I'm in Nashville too. I forgot that you
yeah,
live here.
they're based. Oh shit, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But so when I talked to you, I was in LA.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is new. I'm like, I don't remember him living in Nashville.
Yeah, yeah. When I talked to you, I was in LA, and then I moved here shortly, probably a year after that or something. But
Okay.
I looked up and like there was an interview of them talk. I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole, but there was an interview of them talking about going on tour with Metallica because Danny, the drummer, was telling me, "Oh yeah, we're going out. We have 3 days off, and then we're going to like Mexico to open up for Metallica again." And I guess they've had that relationship for a while now,
Uh-huh.
and so they've been doing like stuff with them for a couple of years now, and so I was like, oh, I didn't know they were touring Metallica. I got down this rabbit hole and I see like, I think it was Sam, I think is his name, the bass player, one of the brothers. He was like, yeah, like the craziest thing we take from Metallica is like how disciplined they, you know, they eat the same thing every night. They do the same things every day. And you start to realize like, if we want to be doing this for a long time, you got to operate like that. You can't operate like you're a fucking superstar. You got to operate like you're a 9 to 5 beautiful blue collar boy. Because if you're not, seriously, if you don't, you will eventually crack, you know, and you see it happen time and time and time again. I mean, I've done it to myself, so I know. you know, and I've never even been at this level. So I can imagine at this level, when you got guys like Mick Jagger and stuff, and you talk to those guys, they're not going to say they regret their fucking times, but they'll be like, man, we wasted a lot of shit, you know,
Yeah.
on drugs and on the thing and on chasing this like sporadic type of, it's addictive. It's addictive to be like spontaneous and sporadic. And
Oh yeah, impulsive.
yeah, it's fucking an addiction. The harder thing is to sit back and be like, no, you know what? Every night when we get off stage, we want this to be the meal. Every night. Like, no, we don't want the fucking cake. We don't want the beers in the green room. We want this, you know. Not, and I'm not shaming, like I don't really drink much myself anymore, but I'm not
I don't drink it. Yeah, I'm a sober guy, so
yeah, I'm pretty much, I've had half a beer and I had half a beer in Prince Edward Island, and immediately when I had half a beer, it's been 3 months since I've had half a beer, and I had half a beer, and I never had a problem. I just like am kind of like over it, you know. I'm just like, I'm so much more productive without this shit that I'm good. This gets me in too much, like spend too much money, waste too much time. It's not that I ever had, I was actually the problem with alcohol where it's like, you're too good. You're like too good of an alcoholic. You're like,
oh man, yeah.
Everybody wants you to keep drinking. They're like, why? You don't have a problem, you know? Like, you're like, yeah, that is the problem. That I'm the fun guy who wants to buy everybody shots. Like, no,
yeah, that becomes the problem.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's like, it really is this game of this balancing act of like, okay, like we were talking about it, like, I mean, dude, you get off the stage and we had this Somo festival this past weekend was like, you know, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. There's nobody else playing during our time. There's a culinary stage that had a chef on there. So we're like, all right, nobody's going to be over there.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know, maybe a couple moms will be over there, but like literally just us playing. The tent's packed out. It's probably not 3,000, probably like 2,500 people, but it's packed out. There's people standing up in the right corner. And like first song we come out, Daddy's Coming Home. Rock.
That's awesome.
Second song we come out, Beast of Burden, and like we do this thing where I quiet down everybody, and I'm like, pitty game, you know, and it's like really quiet. We're playing really quiet, and then we build it back up and drop real quiet. And it's like, okay, we got him by the balls. Like we're holding the crowd by the balls, and we fucked up here and there, like as you know, as people do. You know, we're not perfect, but we had a phenomenal show. And like to hear people, you know, coming up to you at the airport, and like even I was talking to the owner of the festival, who I saw like a post on Instagram. So I said, hey, you know, thanks for having us, blah blah blah. And he reached back out. He said, man, you know, you guys had rave reviews this weekend out of everybody at the festival. You know, we kept hearing your name pop up saying that you guys and we killed it. We really had an amazing show. And when you get done with that, and then you're back, and you're like, you know, you're in your Airbnb, and you're like, well, I guess we got a flight at 6 a.m. And it's like your adrenaline, your dopamine, you're so high. You're so high on life. It's such a high on life. I don't think that shit ever leaves either. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe if you're playing arenas every day, it does. For me, I don't think it does. I think it just stays like that. And your heightened sense of like, holy shit, this is so dope. Is so high that it's hard a lot of times to not want to like, I get it. I didn't get for a long time. I was like, why do these guys become addicts? Why do these guys become blah, blah? It's like, man, you're so high on life. You're just like, how do I keep this shit going?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
How do I keep this shit going over and over and over again? And it's like, when you're on tour, you don't really have to worry about that. Cause like you got another show the next day.
Tomorrow night you get the
but when you're doing these one-offs, you really forget like what that feeling is like. And this is like like they talk about it all the time, like post-tour depression. Cause like you go and you tour for 4 weeks, and then you have your big, like usually your last show is in your hometown, or like the last leg is like in a big city, you know, that you have a good fan base in, right? And you play that show, and then you're done, and you're like, fuck, what do I do with my life now? You're like, what is my normal schedule? So back to my point. That's why it's important to keep your normal schedule through that. Like, okay, we played a show. It's amazing. But tomorrow, like I got to wake up. I got to hit the gym because we got a bus call at 9 a.m. I got to hit the gym at 7. And I got to get that workout in, because if I don't, and I'm not perfect, I don't do this every time, but like, I got to get that workout in. So I'm back in the rhythm, I'm back in the schedule. Okay. It's just my everyday life, you know? And that's like, that's why the album's called Beautiful Blue Collar Boy, literally, you know, it's because I started looking at it like that and going like, okay, I got to learn how to balance this shit with just everyday life. You know, I got to be able to live this as a career, because this is one of the only things that, like, it's not like you just go to work, like you said, and you go home. It's like you're always on call. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, how do you balance that? You know, that's
Yeah.
that's been the challenge for, I think, a lot of musicians and a lot of artists. But I feel like I'm in a good place with it, and hopefully that I'll be able to stay in a good place with it. You know.
Yeah. Man, well, I love what you're doing. I love the album. I This has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate your time, Jake. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, sure. And anytime you want to get back on, maybe after the
Oh,
deluxe comes out or something, we'll do
hell
another.
yeah. No, definitely. I have one more question. You just basically answered it before I even asked it. Like with you, what you were just saying was just like, if you have any advice for aspiring artists. I don't know if you have
Sure.
anything else to add, but what you just said was pretty spot on.
Yeah, yeah. I think the only other thing I would add is just like chase authenticity.
Hmm.
Don't chase anything else. Don't chase views. Don't chase engagement. Don't fucking chase anything besides authenticity. You got to believe in it. You have to believe in it, and you got to live it, and you got to be it. You know, because if you don't, you're going to be in a situation where you'll look back at it and be either regretful or, you know, not want to be a part of it or whatever. And people can smell that. People can feel that. You know, like, I think people used to know, oh, maybe Jake doesn't want to play cigarettes on stage, you know, or Jake doesn't want to play confidant or whatever. And now it's like they know that I do, and they know that they love the energy, because you can tell that energy on stage. It's like whenever you're, you know, in a bad mood and you hang out with friends, they're like, why are you in a bad mood? You're like, I'm not in a bad mood, because you're trying to act like you're not, but you really got to tell yourself, don't be in a bad mood. Otherwise, you're going to be in a bad mood. So I think chase authenticity over everything else, and learn how to balance that. You know, even as a young artist, if you can learn, or a new creative, you know, in the space, if you can learn how to chase authenticity and stay disciplined to your routine or your everyday life, or maybe the better advice is to incorporate some discipline into your everyday life. I think you'll be on a much better path forward, than many other people. So that would be my number one piece of advice.
Bringing it backward.